So we're gonna just get started since we're running a bit late already. Welcome everyone. This is our last virtual learning session of the semester, so I think it's very fitting that we ran into technical difficulties for the last one. That's okay, we're still good. We're gonna keep going with it. Thank you all for joining for the last session. This call is a little bit different from our usual call. We have a panel of fellow participants here. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the fellowship program, as part of Healthy School Food Pathway, we have the pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship, which everyone here is familiar with, but then we also have a fellowship program, which is designed for mid to upper level school food professionals. So we have 3 people who are current fellows with us today, and they're here to talk a little bit about their experience, how they got into school food, and any advice they have for you all. So before we get started with our panel, I'd love to do some quick introductions. So Amber, I'm going to pass it to you. If you could just introduce yourself and what district you're at, and then we'll pass it over to Michelle next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amber Green. I'm the director at Marysville Joint Unified School District in Marysville, California, which is north of Sacramento.
Thank you. And I believe, Amber, you have some apprentices who are on this call right now as well, which is great to see. I'll
Yes,
pass it over to you
Gabby.
next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Michelle Diaz, and I'm the director for Gridley Unified School District in California, also Northern California, right next to Amber, actually.
Great, thank you. We have one more speaker, Patience. I'm not sure if she is here yet. Patience, if you are here, are you able to come off mute? If Patience isn't here, we might just get started with Amber, Michelle, and then Juliana, if you're able to just ping Patience again, and we'll just get started with you two. Okay, great. Well, again, thank you everyone for working with us through the technical difficulties. But again, as I mentioned, we'll be doing a panel discussion today. So I have a couple questions for Amber and Michelle. I'll also drop the questions in the chat for you, Amber and Michelle, just as I'm asking them so you have it to refer back to. But otherwise, I'm going to get started with our first question. So Amber, I'm going to start with you. Can you give us a little bit of information about your career experience and background and how you came to work in school food?
Yes, so I studied nutrition in college, and when I was getting ready to graduate, had to kind of figure out my career path, and knew I wanted to be an RD, a registered dietitian. And so part of that is doing a food service rotation and a clinical rotation. I learned pretty quickly that the clinical route was not meant for me. So I was so thankful that my food service rotation was at a school district in San Jose. And I just really fit in there and had a director that really taught me a lot. I ended up getting hired out of my internship and did menu planning and nutrition education there. And I ended up working there for about 8 years as an assistant director role. And then I came to Marysville in 2013 as the director, and I have been there. I'm in my 13th year now. So almost 20 years in school food service.
Great, thank you, Amber. Michelle, same question for you. Can you give us a little bit about your career experience and background and how you came to work in school food?
Yeah, I'm a little different than Amber. I actually started as a delivery driver, working 3.5 hours a day, 6 to 10:30, while I was going to community college. I didn't know what I wanted to do, 19 years old, and I fell in love with the school food culture, and I just worked my way up in each position over 3 school districts. And 3 years ago, I got hired as the director, and I did it the long way, but here I am.
Thank you both. Well, my next question is a little bit about kind of what you've learned along the way. So, Amber, can you tell me a little bit about some of the lessons you've learned? Or, oh, wait, sorry, before we get to this question, Patience is here, so I'm gonna let her in. Hi, Patience.
Hello, I just got done with the meeting, so I apologize.
No, you are good. Well, patients, we're just getting started. I'm wondering if you just quickly introduce yourself and then we will get to the panel discussion.
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Patience Boulay. I am the supervisor of nutrition operations for Ocean View School District. I've been part of the Chef Am Foundation through the pre-apprenticeship, apprenticeship, and now the fellowship. And we, as a district, have been a part of Chef Am since 2010.
Great, thank you. So yeah, Patience is also a current fellow, but she also did the pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship. So me and Patience go way back. She's one of our first pre-apprentices and apprentices as well. Thank you, Patience.
You're welcome.
And just for your awareness, I'll be dropping questions in the chat as I ask them to you all, and I'll call on you when it's your turn.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Great. Well, sorry, Amber, getting back to you, can you tell us a little bit about some of the lessons you've learned and or what would have been helpful to know or have experienced before getting into your position?
I think some of the lessons that I learned come kind of around the management side, like making a lot of mistakes first and learning kind of the hard way. I think what would have been helpful for me to have early on was more some leadership development. I also strongly feel that if I had some resources around scratch cooking and kind of what the initiatives that the Chef Am Foundation, what they kind of embody and bring through these educational programs, I think it would have been really helpful to have that even 10 years ago. I'm really valuing what I'm learning in the fellowship and also what my staff are learning in them going through the pre-apprentice and the apprenticeship. I had pretty good mentors in like the school nutrition world, but a lot of that is in like kind of the norm or the traditional sense, and we're kind of in the non-traditional sense with what we're doing here. So I wish I would have had some more of that influence early on in my career.
Thank you, Amber. And then Patience, I'm gonna go to you next. Same question. What are some of the lessons you've learned or what would have been helpful to know or to have experienced before getting into the position you are currently in?
Well, for me, the reason why I went with the Chef Am Foundation was to get more of the reasons behind the whys, to understand more of the back end structure of why we do what we do, because we've been doing it so long. It was just part of our job, but I wanted to fully know and understand the process and also to better myself with my future as moving up the ladder per se. So, I just wish I would have had more contact. Like, I agree with what Amber said, more insight of things before moving up the chain of things. And this program definitely helped with that. Sorry about the background noise, guys.
No worries. Thanks, Patience. And then finally, Michelle, what are some lessons you've learned that would have been good to know?
So a lot of the background management in, because when you start with the school districts, you get trained for a job, whether it's an assistant cook or anything, you get trained what you're supposed to do, but you don't get trained on why a lot of the time. So it would be nice, like with the pre-apprentices and the apprentices that I've had in my program, they're learning the things through that I didn't get to learn until I got a little higher up, which is really nice. And what I've learned is if you find the right people to help you, it goes a long ways. Ask the questions, find the person that's going to be your supporter, and it'll help you a lot. Ask all the questions you can.
Thank you. And Michelle, I'm gonna stick with you. Shifting gears a little bit, I'd love to get to know a little bit more about your experience in the fellowship so far. I know you all are about five months into the fellowship. So can you give me some insight into how your experience has been, both the good and the bad, and how it's helped grow your career?
So, like I said, I've been a director for about 3 years. I've been in school nutrition since 2003 as the delivery driver. So, I'm really jealous to see my other fellows that know what they're doing, like Amber. Like she's a seasoned pro, which I still see her learning things too, which is nice. Um, it's just really great for me to have allies and help guide me to what I need to know in my position. And everyone in our industry is so caring and giving and wants you to succeed in what you do. And the fellowship is just so nice to get those like-minded people together, and it's a wonderful experience. It's a little difficult on some of the things because I don't know it all, and this really shows me what I need to work on. So it's a double-edged sword on that, but it's good for me and it's good for my growth.
Thank you, Michelle. And Amber, same question for you. What has your experience been like? And then again, don't be afraid to give us the bad as well. So
I think what I value the most so far is similar to what Michelle, well, I know Michelle is Shelley, so what Shelley shared is the networking aspect. The fellowship's a little bit smaller of a cohort than what seems to be on the screen right now. I think the apprenticeship it seems pretty large, which is fantastic. But there's 24 of us in the fellowship, so it's a little bit smaller of a group, and we have some times where we're getting together face to face or doing small breakouts on our weekly meetings, and so we've really gotten to know some of the colleagues and build friendships and being able to share and exchange ideas and what ifs and stuff like that. One thing I really like about the group in our fellowship is that there's not a lot of like the naysaying or like you can't do that or I've done that so don't try type thing. It's very encouraging space, and it's a lot of sharing the successes and giving ideas of how things did work for people, and it makes me feel really encouraged to try something that's maybe been on a wish list, or if something I felt like too big to tackle, but hearing somebody else is having success is helpful. I think another positive thing is that I constantly have like kind of a wish list of like, oh, I wish I could take this class, or I wish I could learn more about that. And this fellowship has kind of carved out the time for me to say, okay, I'm going to learn about those things because they're embedded in the program. And so that's a huge win. Now the bad is kind of the same, like Shelley said, like it's a huge time commitment. So there's like weekly time I have to really commit to putting into projects and work and assignments and prep work and stuff. So just managing the time and making sure that I'm allocating it enough.
thank you. And unfortunately, Patience just messaged me and she lost service. So hopefully she's able to rejoin. But in the meantime, actually, Amber and Michelle, I have a follow-up question for you. What would you say was the main subject area you were looking to learn more about when you entered the fellowship? Or if it was just everything overall, or is there like a specific topic area you're like, this is what I really would like to focus more on?
I think for me, it had my kind of incentive or drive is really to learn more about a centralized production operation, and I knew that the fellowship had some site visits involved in going to visit other school districts, so seeing those operations working in our district. We're in the baby steps stage of hoping to one day pass a bond to be able to build a production facility so that we can centralize our operation and be able to fully scratch make our meals. But that's a long way down the road. So I'm doing a lot of research and educating myself in the moment, so that I can get myself ready for in 8 to 10 years when we hope that this comes to fruition. The other motivation I had is I have a colleague in my office who went through the first fellowship, and I saw really great growth in him and what the fellowship did in his skills and how it really added to our operation and really moved us forward. It really gave me kind of some drive to do the same and kind of get myself up to his speed now, because he learned a lot there, and it was really exciting to see him grow and how it's put back into our program.
That's great to hear. Thank you. Michelle, same question for you. Did you have a specific subject area or motivation that made you want to sign up for the program?
So a couple of things. Policy, that's always a hard one, federal, state. And, I got into the driver's chair as the director, and then I start getting all these emails about everything, but I didn't understand all of it. I went from cooking at a site to now being in charge of everything that can close a department down. And that was a little scary. You have to do a little research and learn. And I was really excited that the fellowship helps us with that. It teaches you what they're about, how to learn about that, how to read them, and financials. I know a little bit about finance, but it's nice having this fellowship that sits you down and says, this is what you need to know. This is what you can do to figure this out. And it's just nice having somebody to help maybe hold your hand if you need it, or just give you a little squeeze. And it really has helped me so much. It shines a light on my department for my district to be able to say, hey, look what Gridley is doing with the Chef Ann Foundation. And just everything about it has helped me and helped my department in general.
Love it. Great. And then actually, Michelle, I have another question for you next. I'll put this one in the chat. So it sounds like you started off as a driver, as you mentioned, and kind of worked your way up to a leadership role. So what advice would you give to others in a similar position who are trying to take on more leadership?
It's really hard. A lot of times, nutrition workers work in the town that they're from, and it's really hard to get a full-time position in districts. When somebody's there, when a cook's there, they're there for 30 years. So you might have to branch out and look at other districts, and that's a little scary, but larger districts have larger opportunities. There's going to be more than one cook. Like in my district now, there's literally one cook. When I worked for another district, there was 22 schools. So you may have to look outside to give yourself the opportunity if you want to advance.
Great, thank you. And Amber, same question for you. What advice would you give to someone trying to take on more leadership?
I think my advice would be to take advantage of any opportunity given to you. Be bold or brave, I guess, in maybe an opportunity that you're feeling like maybe you're not ready for, but somebody's asked you to step in. So like if somebody asked you to fill in for the day in a role that's maybe outside of your own, I know some people have fear in that, a fear in messing up, but if you can dig deep for some braveness and be bold to learn and ask questions, then I think that leadership sees that and sees potential. Be curious to learn. Maybe you don't have the opportunity where you're being asked to fill in, but if you're being curious and asking others, like I see you doing that, can you show me how you do that? Or, what oven is this? How do you use it? And get skills that way and learning from coworkers. Or if you have the opportunity to fill into a role that's maybe like a temporary manager, for example, we use the term working out of class. So if you have, somebody's out for a week for a medical or something like that, and you can step into that role and learn, be bold to take those chances and learn from them. And, sometimes we might mess up a time or two, but learn from it, and then certainly ask for questions or ask for help if you find yourself trying to step into that and feeling overwhelmed. Then typically supervisors and directors want those individuals to succeed, and sometimes we don't know that there's folks struggling out there, so just pick up the phone and ask those questions.
Thanks, Amber. I'm seeing we have some questions in the chat. We will get to those in just a minute. Just have a few more questions for you all. So my next question for you, Michelle, is what aspects of your position do you struggle most with, and how are you working through those challenges in your current position?
So, being from working on the line, getting where I'm at, I'm very supportive of my team. I want to do everything for them that I can. I want to make sure they have proper hours. I want to make sure they're getting a light shined on them when they're doing something that they haven't done, like incorporating scratch cooking. Um, and getting buy-in is sometimes a little bit hard with your community or with your district. So I'm working on making my staff stand out and feel good about what they're doing, because how they feel about themselves and their work, it shows every time they do something on the menu and they feel good about these things. And I'm just working really hard to be an advocate for my students and my staff.
Thank you. And Amber, what about you? What are you struggling most with in your position, and how are you working through those challenges?
This is a tough one. I relate a lot with what Shelley is saying about staff needing to be built up and recognized more. This is not something that I do naturally, so it's something I've tried to be a little bit more intentional to. Also, being mindful of what staff need, and if so, and on an individual basis. So I used to be kind of more across the board, everybody gets the same. But in schools, that's not how we meet students in the learning space. So we need to not meet staff that way in the workplace. And some sites are going to need more individual needs or care or items, and just trying to be mindful of how to meet them where they're at, if it's training or extra resources. And then another thing that's been, I guess, challenging is that just to recognize that change takes time. And sometimes it's good to look back. I'm in my district I'm in my 13th year. And so to look back at like, okay, where did we come from and where are we at? Sometimes we get so bogged down with like the needle moving so slow that it can be discouraging. But if you can kind of have a bigger picture and kind of recognize where we came from, and then celebrating those successes with staff and recognizing their part in it. Hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Amber. And then this is my last official question, and then we could start answering some questions from you all. But Michelle, what keeps you going, and what is it about your workday that makes you want to come back each day?
Again, I like being part of the change. I like changing the dynamic. When I started 3 years ago, we had all packaged foods. And I love the feeling that when I see my cook make lasagna and the students take every single piece of it, and the hard work that my cook put into it, and then how she feels afterwards knowing that they loved it, that's my happy space, to see that they're getting rewarded for their hard work, and seeing that the students aren't just taking it, they're eating it. It changing the culture in the district I'm at this time. It's my why I get up, why I go. I love this feeling, and I want to give this to those around me feeling.
I love that. Thank you, Michelle. And then Amber, same question. What makes you keep going?
Well, I think Shelley stole my answer. Very similar, I think, just seeing the students being happy with what's on their plates and the staff having pride in what they're preparing, and seeing staff take ownership over doing a good job is really rewarding. I think too, seeing staff succeed and be successful in something that maybe previously was a challenge, that's really rewarding. I'm like a teacher at heart. I love teaching new skills or new concepts to people. So seeing them master something, or seeing somebody that's passed a food handler's course after maybe struggling with it, but in the end, succeeding with it after maybe more than one attempt, those are really rewarding moments and help me coming back every day.
I love that as well. Thank you, Amber and Michelle. We do have some questions in the chat, so I'm gonna go through those. So our first question is from Susanna. She had actually a couple questions. First one being, did you get this job while on the fellowship? I don't believe both of you didn't, correct? Okay. And then her follow-up question is, as apprentices, what should we focus on to help us grow if we also become food service directors?
I think, like Amber said, ask those questions to those in upper management. It doesn't have to be your director specifically, it can be, but say you have a kitchen manager above you, ask those questions, get as much information as you can. Let those above you know that you're interested in moving up. Sometimes we don't know that people want the opportunity. So be vocal about it.
I think also looking at USDA's requirements for directors, there's some flexibility now with experience versus education. So looking at maybe the size district that you have a route of passage to with experience, and or maybe considering going to college if that's something that isn't already in your experience.
Great advice. And the next question is from Michelle, which I could actually answer, but how long is the fellowship program? So Michelle, the fellowship is a year long. It starts in I think the end of January and ends the following January. Okay, next question is from Georgina. Amber, if you would be able to change something in the food system, what would it be? And I think Michelle, if you also answer this as well, you're more than welcome to.
I would want to change the dessert type foods that we consider breakfast in the industry. That is a big fundamental issue that is creating experience for kids that is really hard to change that habit from, and I think it's doing a lot of harm to kids. So yeah, that would be my soapbox moment.
Yeah, for me, I think the change that I would make is already in the process. Changing the cafeteria culture. A lot of kids, it's lunch food. But we've been very blessed with a lot of grants and people in the government wanting us to serve healthy, appealing meals. And you see it districts everywhere working really hard to provide those fresh, beautiful meals, scratch made for our kids or whole foods for our kids. And I just would like to keep that going and watch the success and the health in our children and the quality of our food.
Thank you. Any other questions from the apprentices? If not, I do have one question. For either Amber or Michelle, I'm wondering, I know you haven't been in the fellowship that long, but I'm wondering if you could share a little bit about your favorite memory so far from the fellowship, because I know you've done a couple of in-person things so far, so I'd love to hear about that.
Well, I really, really love that I've gotten to know Amber as a person. We're, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes apart, our districts are. And like you see the names here and there, but I really love that I've gotten to know my neighbor. And there's a few other districts around me, and the camaraderie that you get through this fellowship, the relationships that you get. I'm friends, like really close now, with one of the people from New Mexico. I would never have met this person if it weren't for this fellowship, and just new, good, vibrant, happy, amazing people in your life is just a wonderful thing that I've gained out of this.
Yeah, I would second all of that. Shelly even came by my district today. I didn't get to see you, Shelly, but I know you came by. we were able to share some supplies with her that she needs for her summer non-congregate. So, but yeah, we are really close. And there's actually another fellow that's in Live Oak, which is in between her district and my district. So there's 3 of us really close, which I love that our region is having this focus and kind of improvement that's like-minded. So I think that that's one of my highlights too. I also got to visit a full production kitchen from scratch operation in one of my site visits, and I got to do the breaded chicken on the production line one day while I was helping there. So that was a lot of fun. Fully like everything like covered in a cold meat prep room and everything. So that was fun experience to do.
Thanks for sharing. And I see we have a couple more questions in the chat, but Claudia, I see you also have your hand raised. Did you have a question?
Yes, I do, and this would be for both of you. As directors, how would you view an employee that is asking a lot of questions? Like, could it be counterproductive and be seen as maybe the employee is not, can I say this? They can't do the job, or could it be that the employee wants to improve? How would you view it?
I think the person coming to us should be upfront about it. And if they're wanting to learn, say, hey, I want to better myself. I want to grow in this career, and I'd like to ask some questions. What can you do for me? Personally, 2 of the 3 districts I've worked for, I had directors send me to courses because they knew I was very vocal. I want to be a director. I started literally as the van driver and worked my way, said, hey, this is what I want to be in your seat one day. What can you do for me to help me do that? What can I do for you to make this better? And I had one director that said, absolutely, let me sit next to her, and showed me. And I had one director that said, why would I do it when I can teach you to do it for me? So just be very upfront about it. And hopefully you have a director or upper management that's willing to support you and want you to succeed as well.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
agree. I think asking the questions with an open mind and with the willingness to learn. Sometimes when we're asked questions and somebody's maybe not confident about their skills, then defensiveness can come up. And so if you're experiencing that, then maybe sharing more about your like your reasoning why of the questions, and it's not like to get the director in trouble or think they're doing something wrong. It's really with a learning mind and a learning space. Or maybe asking if there is a course or something that you could take to help if the director doesn't have enough time to kind of meet the needs of your questions being asked. Or maybe there's somebody else that you can spend time with to learn some things. So it's kind of sharing the burden on the director.
Thank you.
Great question, Claudia.
Mhm.
All right, we have a couple more questions in the chat. I'm going to combine Jamie's and Georgina's a bit as they're kind of similar, but what is the biggest challenge you've faced in as a food service director, and what are some of the biggest changes you've also made in your district since becoming a food service director?
I think the biggest changes I've made have been around the type of food that we're making and serving. When I came as well, it was a lot of heat and serve, nuggets and corn dogs, and even packaged. Actually, we didn't really buy anything in a package. They were all like bulk items, but they were pockets and pre-made pizzas and stuff. And so there was challenges in that, and there was times where I had to talk with staff and really be open and honest when we got some resistance, when pockets and corn dogs were going away and they wanted them back. And it's like, well, I'm really competing with things that we're making from scratch. So we can either keep the heat and serve items and we can cut our labor down and because we don't need this many people to produce something that's just put on a pan, or we can keep our workforce and make something and really utilize the labor that we have. And so it took kind of some explanation of where's our focus and where are we going with it for them to understand their role in it. So they really are kind of interrelated for me. How about you, Shelley?
Yeah, so some of the biggest changes are the same. It was all prepackaged. I think changing the food has made a huge difference. The fresh fruits, my kids at the district I'm at hadn't had watermelon in 5 years prior to me getting there, which is it's atrocious that was an issue. So starting small and just incorporating fresh fruit like that made a huge participation jumped up just from fresh fruit alone. And then some of the challenges, well, so changes too is my staff feel valued. I knew how important it was to feel valued. I had directors that were super supportive of our teams, so I wanted to bring that to wherever I went. And I see the change in my staff. I know that they want to do better because they feel better. And that is a little blessing and a curse because my biggest challenge is getting buy-in from my district office. I'm not college educated. I did it through work experience. So while that gave me buy-in with my staff, it kind of deterred a little bit with my district office because maybe I don't know what I'm doing. And I do. I just have to prove it a little bit more in the things I do. And so far, so good. So keep your fingers crossed, guys.
And I think that kind of comes with the territory a little bit, with the kind of the workforce divisions in the school district and kind of the educational side, because I experience it in my district too, as well, unfortunately.
It's great insight, Michelle. Okay, I think we have a couple more questions. I actually don't know to answer the question, so hopefully Amber, Michelle, you know this, but does the fellowship continue through the summer?
Yes, it does.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought, but I wasn't 100%. Well, thank you. And then the next question is from Cynthia. How do you ensure that every team member performs efficiently and maintains high productivity?
I think this kind of depends on your staffing structure. So for me, I have a site manager at every site that we produce. So I'm site-based production. So I have 15 kitchens that produce food and a manager at each one. And so those managers are supervisory level. And so they are tasked with evaluating staff, training staff, and kind of managing that sort of thing. We've recently done some onboarding training. As new people come in, I have kind of a more formal training that follows the probationary period. And then another new project I'm going to do is when somebody promotes up to a higher level position, to have a training program for that. That position is new for my district. I've recently reclassed, so I need to work on that second level of them promoting up to the more skilled level. So some of that's going to be fostered through that training program, or identified that it's not working out during the probation period and can help us retain staff that way.
Also, I'm learning as I grow in this, and I found having it takes a little bit of time, but even if you don't do it as a director, have upper management maybe set time limits. Say you can do to-do lists for the days and have time frames for there. And then if they're not meeting those time frames, you can actually compare it. Say, hey, you were given 30 minutes to cut 2 cases of oranges and you didn't do it. So it's nice to have those written procedures or time frames for them to compare.
Yeah, that was actually new in one of our recent trainings. Thank you, Shelley, for bringing that up. It was a culinary training we went to, and the suggestion was to put it in our recipe. So, a recipe to produce 100 whatever should take this much time frame. That was a big aha for a lot of us, I recall.
Yeah, that is a great idea. I love that. Okay, we have one final question in our chat, and then I think this might be our last question as we're approaching time. But I know Amber, I know you've been doing a lot of scratch cooking, and then you as well, Michelle. Can you talk a little bit about where you all are in your district in terms of scratch cooking?
I would
Amber-
say, oh, do you want
No,
me to
go
go
ahead.
first, Shelley,
Yes.
or you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, so a little background. So, Marysville was an awardee of the Chef Ann Foundation's Get Schools Cooking Grant back in 2018. And that was really the start of our scratch cooking journey. We're kind of a speed scratch format right now. Like I mentioned, I'm site-based production, with the goal to go to a centralized production. So we wouldn't be fully scratch cooking until we build a new facility. Our limiting factor right now is our facilities. They're really old and oftentimes too small to have raw separation of raw proteins from ready to eat foods for thawing and prep time. And then a lot of our facilities, we struggle for electrical, plumbing, and ventilation to upgrade the equipment needed to be more efficient. And so we're mainly using pre-cooked proteins, but we're doing a lot more processing of vegetables for like compost salads and our salad bar in-house. We make sauces. We do pasta from dry pastas and dry rices. And then we're making things out of a can, like tomato sauce. We're making our own marinara using canned ingredients and spices, but not the raw proteins yet.
Yeah, Amber and her district are amazing. They also created a recipe and got an award for it this year. They really are one of those districts you look up to and hope to be a little bit like. I'm not there. We're still using our USDA marinara sauce for our speed scratch lasagna. We're probably about 40% scratch right now. We're working our way up, but you don't want to go to 100% scratch with your staff right away. It is a time-consuming process. You want your staff to be comfortable doing it. So slow and steady wins the race on this type of thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great message, both Amber and Michelle, that doesn't happen overnight, and it is a continuum and a process. So great way to end the call. But thank you both so much for joining us today. We are going to just wrap up with our apprentices with some final housekeeping before summer. So we could let you both go, but thank you so much for joining and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Okay. Apprentices, we just have housekeeping and then we will be off for the summer, so we won't see you all till September again, which is very sad. But Juliana, I will pass it to you to wrap us up.
Cool, thank you. Hi, everyone. Just a couple of things. So a reminder about your coursework for this first semester. Reminder that you need to complete at least 50% of the first semester's assignments by the end of May. Please reach out to me if you have any questions about that or anything specific you want to share. And I'm here to support. I know I've been able to talk to a lot of you in the past couple weeks, so please reach out. Feel free to email, call, or text. When I've sent you emails, I have my number in there as well. So please feel free to reach out. Also would like to note that the fall semester curriculum will be ready by July 7th. So you'll be able to see that in Moodle. And if you want to log on and get a head start, you're welcome to go in and see that. And then I also just want to remind all of you that we're rooting for you. Let me know if you need anything, like any help, but you got this in completing your assignments. Super awesome to see so many of you turning things in this past week. I think that is it. Erica, did you have anything else? Any other
No, I don't
reminders?
think so. We'll touch base with you all through the summer. But summer is a good time to do any catch up if you are a little bit behind. Oh, Tiffany, I love your dog. So cute. Um, but yeah, summer's a good time to catch up if you are behind. So um, if you are behind and you need some assistance with catching up or need any help with just creating a plan for how to catch up, feel free to reach out to Juliana. And then otherwise, yeah, as she said, we'll have the fall curriculum ready by July 7th. So if you want to get a head start for the fall, you are more than welcome to do that as well. But we won't completely leave you alone over the summer. We will be touching base occasionally. And as we approach the fall semester, we will follow up about when the first virtual learning session will be and information for that. You could expect the first virtual learning session to be September, what is it? September 3rd. So the first virtual learning session back will be September 3rd, but we will send you an invite and the Zoom link and all that for that starting then. But otherwise, we hope everyone has a nice and relaxing summer, and we will see you all in September. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.